the arrival of honorable guests, Bangi, Ms. Joanne Enriquez, and also Mr. Muzami to GSB. Thank you. Please have your seat, ladies and gentlemen. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. Our honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to UKM Graduate School of Business Leadership Talks Quiz 2019 with the title of Leadership in Complex Times. First and foremost, we would like to thank everyone at this Rotunda for allocating time in your busy schedule to attend this function. It is my great honor and privilege to welcome all of you this morning. So from the bottom of my heart and all those involved in organizing this function, thank you very much. I also would like to personally thank on behalf of UKM Graduate School of Business to IAP Integrated Sdn Bhd for sponsoring our breakfast today. Please give them a Leadership Talk is part of our leadership development program for Masters of Business Administration at Graduate School of Business, University Kebangsaan Malaysia. In short, we call it LDP. LDP is an integral undertaking for MBA graduate in preparation of successful and sustainable professional life. Prominent business leaders sharing of experience will equip graduates with necessary knowledge outside the classrooms. Furthermore, insights on past, current and future economy and business dynamic will bridge the knowledge acquired in the classroom to industry practices. Leadership in complex times is vital for sustainability for business. For business to become sustainable, leaders must be equipped with adaptive know-how, skill sets to face, fit, and benefit from dynamic challenges in complex times. Among the challenges are technology, industry 4.0 and IoT, digital economy, international competitiveness, global agenda, sustainable development goal, multi-generation telcos, and many more complex challenges. Without further ado, I would like to call upon Ms. Joanne Enriquez to give a word or two.
Assalamualaikum. I'm going to move towards your side. I get nervous when I see a podium, so it's better for me to be near you guys. So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Joanne Enriquez. I'm here as part of our Chat and Chew program, which is basically spreading awareness about the investment account platform, which we will talk about later on. I took on this post about a year ago since it's about leadership. I took this role about a year ago, and alhamdulillah, this month is one year anniversary with the team. And I think I'm very blessed to have a team of dedicated people who are all envisioning to spread Islamic finance in Malaysia and the rest of the world. So inshallah, when we present to you, please feel free to ask questions so that we can engage more in terms of the topic. What to say? It's always best, I always find it very useful to talk to students because I was once there like you. I took my second master's in Islamic finance at INSAF, which is the Bangi school. That's after I finished my PhD. So I was once there about 3 years ago wondering what will I do in Malaysia, wondering how I can forward Islamic finance. I was in the conventional space most of my life. And so I've been in riba and around riba, creating riba, most of my life before I became Muslim. So I felt like the other half of my life now is time to give back and really speak from experience why and how we can live a life that follows the Quran Kareem, inshallah. So this is our way of spreading what we feel is something that we should be doing, which is basically living Islamic finance. And as Musamir will explain after I speak how it came about. And so when you are exploring your fields of practice down the road, hopefully you pick up a nugget or two of what we are teaching here today to inspire you to come up with solutions, financial solutions, economic solutions, to be able to uplift the Ummah, uplift Malaysia, and solutionize the many problems that face us today, inshallah. Okay, so I'd like to call on Muzamir to start the presentation today, and you can jump in anytime if you have any questions, just raise your hands. So Muzamir is our stakeholder services lead that basically takes care of the relationship with the ventures or the projects that apply to IAP, and as well as the banking relationships, which is also part of the ecosystem. Okay, thank you.
Assalamualaikum. Thank you, Joanne, and of course, thank you to UKM for inviting us today. Dr. Rashida, Dr. Wan, and Puan Asura, and ladies and gentlemen, the students. Okay, as was mentioned, my name is Muzamir. I'm the head of stakeholder services at IAP. What I do is basically I engage closely with our shareholder banks, the shareholder banks, and other local Islamic banks to join an IAP or investment account platform. Me and my team also interact with other potential investors, and also we try to get as many as possible ventures or companies to come and raise financing via IAP. So today, for the next probably 1 hour also, we would like to share what we do at IAP or investment account platform. Any one of you has heard about IAP before, or is it the first time? First time. Okay. The first question that maybe before I start, to ask one question. You know why 10 is afraid of 7?
Yes.
Why 10 is afraid of 7?
Yes.
Why?
Because 79.
That's right, 7, 8, 9. Because 7, 8, 9. So the next big deal is 10. So that's why 10 is afraid of 7. Okay, never mind. Joke aside. I forgot my name. You understand the joke, right? 7, 8, 9. That's why 10 is afraid, because he's the next in line. Sorry, before I start, this program is actually part of our program called Chat Chew, whereby we do it every month, and I think this is October, so supposedly the 10th edition of our monthly event called Chat Chew, where we speak to the public. We get to see the public. This time around, of course, is the students from UKM. We share what we do, and we try to get as much people as possible to be aware of what IAP is all about. Okay, before we talk about investment account platform, it's quite important to understand what investment account is. Investment account platform is part of the name of investment account is part of the name of IAP or investment account platform. So, before this, anybody work or attach or know anybody that work in a bank before?
Yes.
Yes. Any banker here? Ada? Alright, 1 or 2. Okay, have you heard about investment account before? Tak pernah? Okay. Now when you go to Islamic bank, for example, Maybank or Bank Islam, okay, let's say like you have 5,000 some excess cash that you want to invest. You are not using it in the next 3 months or 6 months or even a year, for example. Traditionally, we go to the bank, we deposit our money in a fixed deposit, okay, for 1 year, and we get probably 3.5%, depending on the bank. Okay. Now, since 2015, if you go to Maybank and also Bank Islam, there's a new product called investment account. Investment account is similar to deposit. Okay, the difference between investment and deposit is, of course, you can read here, but the idea is for the investors, people like you and me, or even corporate, to take more risk in exchange for higher returns. If you want to get more return, better than 3.5% for your 12-month deposit, you can opt for a product called investment account. Now available in a few banks, But from our shareholder banks, it's available in Maybank and also Bankstar. They come from Maybank or Bankstar, some of the exposure to. So if you want to take more risk in exchange of higher return than your normal fixed deposit, you opt for investment account, not deposit. Okay. Of course, there are differences between IA, we call it IA, in the banking industry we call it IA. And deposit is number one, principal is guaranteed a deposit. So you put in 10,000 for example, you went up to 250,000. PIDM. Remember you sometimes when you watch television, you know there are a lot of advertisement of PIDM. They guarantee our deposit up to 250,000 per depositor per bank. Okay. If you have 300,000 with Maybank for example, in the event of Maybank going bankrupt, your deposit is protected by PIDM up to 250,000. Okay. But for investment account, there is no guarantee on your principal. Then a little bit profit. But of course, the return is much higher. Okay. Number two, funds that we put under deposit, this is a bit technical. Funds that we put under deposit is used by the bank to finance the financing asset. It's a pool of funds. But under IA, the funds is used to fund specific asset. I'll talk about IAP later. And then there are types of standard deposit. Of course, we all know current account, current savings account, and fixed deposit. Under IA, there are two types of RA, the product RA restricted and unrestricted. Okay. And then, of course, purpose, custody of funds. We put our salary allowances under current account, for example, savings account, because we want the bank to keep custody of our funds with exchange of let's say a small return or no return at all in some cases. But for IA, it's for investment. For us, we get higher return. Okay. What's the difference between the two, deposit and investment account? So next time you go to Maybank or Bankstar, you can ask the bank officers, the customer service PCS as they call it, on investment account. Okay. Whether they know the product or not is another matter, but you can ask them. Okay. Any questions so far? So we move to the next slide. Okay. This diagram just to show the difference between the two. In terms of, you guys familiar with this? I suppose you guys are familiar, right? The contract. Okay. Contract used for deposit, wadiah, murabahah, card, investment account, is the contract, musyarakah, murabah, wakalah. But the two main, the most commonly used contracts and investment account so far is musyarakah and wakalah. Sorry, murabah and wakalah. Musyarakah, none of the bank have come up with musyarakah yet. Okay, of course, this is the source of funds for the bank. So for the bank to give financing to us to buy new houses, to companies to purchase a new shop office or working capital, they use our deposit and investment account. You know, for personal financing, mortgage and whatnot. Okay. The difference between these two, again, this is, okay, you put deposit, you don't know where the money is being invested into. But you put an investment account, you know that the money either goes to one of the, okay, for example, 200 million of investment account in Maybank. They have to inform the investors that the money is used for SME financing, for example. So you know, your money goes to SME financing. But if it is under RA, this one today, under RA, it's a specific company, one company, for example, ABC System Berhad. You know that your 10,000 will go to this company, ABC System Berhad, for the purpose of the working capital. So that's the difference. Okay. Why it was introduced by Bangi is because Bangi wants to educate the Malaysian public that for you or for us to expect returns from the bank, higher returns, in particular, you have to take more risk. Okay. In commercial bank, there is no investment account. It's only available in Islamic banks. And not all Islamic banks in Malaysia have investment account. So if you have appetite for investment, this is another avenue for you to earn a better returns on the money other than stock market or property. Any question?
So that's means investment account which is valid in Islamic bank,
Available in
Islamic banks, and for sure for conventional banks it not.
It's not being offered.
Okay.
For example, Maybank, Maybank Group, they have Maybank and Maybank Islamic. So it's only available in Maybank Islamic. Sama juga CIMB. It's available in CIMB Islamic, not CIMB.
Then it's some sort of alternative for deposit.
Correct. For deposit. Of course, it's only for people who have to take higher risk because there is a risk of you losing your principal. Yes, sir.
We talk about return. As of now, how much return from the
Okay, in terms of return, okay, I go back to the last slide. In terms of current account and savings account, almost zero return. Kalau anda fixed deposit, ini pasti return. Okay, let's say 1 year 3.5%. But for 1 year UA 1A, you could get up to 7% or 6%, double the return. Yeah, up to. Normally, bank don't pay too much, too big a difference between deposit and investment account. But in terms of UA, probably 50 basis points or 1% higher. Up to 50 basis points higher, but you still get more. Okay. But of course, RA is higher than UA because RA specific company, one company. It's not a pool of companies or a pool of assets. Of course, a pool of assets, many assets, for example, 20 assets. The risk is lower, right? Because maybe only 2 or 3 fail or before. The other 17 or 16 still performing. But kalau satu saja, there's only one. If that company fails, then you don't get any return at all. Yes.
are the people who give you money to invest are integrated in project or the choice of the project, or the bank just has money and they are choosing the project to invest.
Okay, so far, as far as our platform is concerned, you can choose, as an investor, you can choose where your money goes to, where your money is invested into. I will share with you later. The list of project that has been available on our platform, where as an investor, you can choose where your money goes to. The big point is, you get to choose where your money goes into. Okay, just to show total outstanding investment account. Okay, total deposit in the Malaysian banks, Malaysian financial institutions so far up to June 2019 is 2,000 million or 2 trillion. Of course, money belonging to you and me, to our parents, our friends, the GLCs, or the public sector companies, or the SMEs. Total is 2 trillion, of which 4% is under investment account. So investment account makes up 4% of total liquidity in the Malaysian market now. Sorry, as at June 2019. This portion is represented by Islamic deposit, not the current account, fixed deposit, savings account. Okay. The other 66%, which is almost 2/3 of the percentage of the amount, belongs to conventional deposit. So Islamic IA and deposit makes up around 34%. It was only introduced in 2015. Over 4 years, it has grown to 80 billion. So quite a lot in the market now. So if you were to invest your money in investment account, you are not the only one. There have been 80 billion worth of balances in investment account. Okay, you might be wondering what happened to your money in the event of bank falling under liquidation. Okay, if a bank were to be liquidated, of course, the money that the bank has will be used to pay all these parties. The first that gets paid is the creditors, the regular creditors. The second that gets paid is secured creditors. And investment account holders is ranked second. So you get paid after these people get paid. Depositors only after investment account holders. So some companies, investors out there are very worried. You know, even on liquidation, you may not have the money. Well, the answer is you get paid second. Because why? Your investment is tagged against a specific asset. Okay. Depositors is tagged against a pool of asset. Okay. And of course, the last one is the shareholders. They get paid last. If there is any balance, then they get paid to shareholders. So, in terms of taking a risk, you get paid second after the creditors of the bank. Okay, now we talk about IAP. The IAP was launched in 2016, February 2016, by the former governor, Tan Dr. Zaki Aziz. Okay, you can see the picture of 6 gentlemen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the CEOs and MDs of our shareholder banks. They signed the agreement to set up IAP, witnessed by, of course, the former governor, Mr. Kijang, in 2016. Okay, why IAP was IAP Investment Platform was launched is to provide a new concept to the investing public or to the market that centers on risk reward. If you want to take risk, you get to earn more rewards from your risk taking. So risk reward concept by investment account where both investors and entrepreneurs can benefit from. Yeah, I will explain how investors and entrepreneurs are involved in this whole transaction. And number 2, we are an internet-based investment platform. So we operate a website where banks, investors, and companies use us. Of course, investors to invest, companies to get financing, and bank for them to list the project on the platform. So that's what we do. We provide a platform used by many banks to list the project for investors to profit from. Okay, in terms of our corporate structure, of course, you guys are familiar with all the 6 banks, IAP, Bank Islam, Amadat, Bank, and GSB. These are our shareholders. They set up a consortium for line holding. So this is the first time that, despite being competitors, these 6 banks set up a consortium for common purpose of setting up investment account platform. So we are a company that is owned by a consortium of 6 banks. So they hold equal shares in the holding. The first business underlying is investment account platform. And what we do, we own and operate the platform, the investment account platform. Yes, sir.
I think GSB is one of the major player, major bank major. Why not GSB? Is there any reason?
Is there any reason?
Or something?
We would like to know that from CIB why we did not join. There are some reasons, of course, why CIB did not join, which were not forthcoming to us when we met them. Probably they have their own strategy on how to market their investment product. So, but this is bank feel that the best way to market their product is through a consortium, through working with other banks. They probably have their own way of doing things. Yes.
Why only 2 offer investment account?
Actually, all offer investment account except for BSN. Okay. The rest of the banks, okay. Okay. Well, okay. I mentioned only 2 because I talked about UA. Remember, there are 2 types, RA and UA. So for UA, there are only 2 banks that have UA, Bank Islam and Maybank. Afin, Muamalat, they have RA. Bank Islam and Maybank, they have both RA and UA. Bank Raya, they have just gotten approval for UA. PSN, they don't have UA yet or RA yet, but they are still our shareholders. They support us, of course, with the capital and their expertise. Okay. Okay. We talked about just now about ventures or companies that seek financing by IAP. Anybody familiar with how companies get financing from the banks? Any experience? No experience at all. Okay, never mind. Okay, normally when banks would like to seek financing from the companies would like to seek financing from banks, what they do is they apply to a branch or they go to the office of a bank. Okay. When we have IAP, they can also apply online. They come to our website, they visit our website from the own office desktop. They log into our website and they can apply financing online. Either 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, or even 100 million. You can apply online. Let's say the application is obtained by the bank, either online or by going direct to the bank. Bank will then evaluate the application, financing proposal, get it approved, and then once approved, bank has the option to get the issuance or the financing rate. If it is to be rated, it will be done by RAM. Everybody knows what RAM is, right? RAM is one of the two major rating agencies in Malaysia. Another one is MARC. So once credit rating is assigned, then the project, the venture or the company will be listed on the platform on our website. The purpose is to get investors to view, okay, bulan ni project apa available. This month, what kind of project or venture is available for them to invest in. Okay. Of course, when the company get listed on the platform, we have like a campaign period to source for the funds, to collect funds from the public. So when during the campaign period, normally for 30 days, 2 weeks, or even a week, investors can make a booking online. You can book 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000, for example. After the expiry of the period, the bank will call you to collect the money. You make deposit, security placement into the bank in investment account or your current account. So,
who will analyze the proposal from the company? And how transparent will you be?
Okay, good question. You can see here, bank will do credit screening. Of course, China screening, credit screening, whatnot. So, evaluation is done by the bank. Before it gets approved, the bank's credit team will evaluate the proposal, do a site visit, scrutinize the cash flow, work with the lawyers to ensure that all the terms and conditions are met and whatnot. So the bank will do the evaluation. But at IAP, what we do is we get a lot of applications on a monthly basis. Some of them are bankable, some of them are not. So we do preliminary screening. If we think that the venture is not bankable, that means they will not pass the evaluation process of the bank, we will not pass them to the bank. Of course, there's an arrangement between us and the venture. We will try to get them funding from other parties from the bank. But to answer the question, evaluation is done by the bank. And how transparent? Okay. Okay. When the company or project get listed on the platform, there are a number of information that will be disclosed to the public. Number one is the investment term between the bank and the investor. Okay, the investment is, example, for 3 years. What's the return? Like, what's the payment of the frequency of payment of principal and profit? Every 3 months, every 1 year, for example. Number two is the financing term given by the bank to the venture. It will have to be disclosed as well. And then number three, if there is a rating, it will have to be published. Rating represents an independent review of the property of default of the client. So investors will know that despite the fact that the project has been approved by the bank, but RAM as an independent rating agency probably give a different review of the whole insurance. And then the audited account of the companies, the cash flow will have to be disclosed. This is to give the investors overall picture, and so that they can make an informed decision before they decide to click the button to make a booking. So it's very transparent. It's provided for under investment income guideline that Bangi come up with, that all the banks have to follow.
So, example of the project that we have been listed in
Ada in the next slide.
Oh.
Okay, we'll share later.
So, we know that there's a lot of rating agencies that Moody and SFP. Is it will include also doing the bank will monitor on that one also, or just follow rank only?
Okay. Assuming the financing is over a period of 5 years, for example. Okay. Of course, internally, it's required by the Basel III standard and Paris standard. They have to do annual review. At least annual review of the account. That's number one. And number two, since the money that is used to be dispersed to the credit card, venture capital investors, there must be a quarterly report that bank have to give to the investors, every investor's quarterly report on the performance of the project for the past 3 months. And then in terms of rating is only one off. It's not for the period of 5 years because there's a cost involved.
So is it the bank have a mechanism on the analyze the risk or something like that?
You will have to be presented to the credit committee normally, and then before being presented to the committee, it has to pass the credit risk. So that's another party that will look at the credit evaluation done by this credit team. They will pinpoint the risk, for example, and then this team will have to mitigate the risk, come up with solutions or ways to mitigate the risk.
For example, like if the product is the company is AAA minus B or what, so is it the bank will only determine the higher rating, or there is another mechanism that determine?
Okay, I see. Okay, every credit proposal that goes to a bank, the bank will have, of course, they have their own credit policy, which may differ from one bank to another, but not so much. The bank will have their own internal credit rating, whereby for this type of credit, if they are very good, probably they score the highest mark, probably 1 to 10, is rated at 10. Some are rated at 7, some are rated at 5, which is not good credit. So bank will have their own credit rating. So it's provided for by all the banks eventually. They have to have credit rating. But the rating given by them is independent of the bank's rating. Of course, the higher rated the client is to the bank, the lesser is the profit or interest that is being charged. If you are rated higher to the bank, of course, you can command a very low interest or profit. Similarly, if you now, if you were to seek financing for a purchase of home, the bank will rate you based on currency and whatnot, right? So you will be given the rating, double A or A, even a percentage up to 100%. You are rated at probably 90% and above. Chances of you being approved by the bank is very high, and the rate is much lower. Okay, pre-IFSA, just to reiterate, before the IFSA, you put deposit with the bank use our deposit to give financing to companies or for purchase of homes and whatnot. After IFSA is Islamic Financial Services Act 2013. Okay, after IFSA, bank now have the option to seek funds from the public through investment account, product called investment account, and for the public, for them to share the profitable of business of lending with the crowd by giving them much better return. Sometimes up to 7.5%, because bank normally charge SME, for example, base financing rate and plus credit spread. BFR is now around economic scale 6.6, for example, plus credit spread of 2%, 8.6%. And the bank charge the SMEs, for example. So every time they pay principal plus 8.6% profit or interest, probably 6% will go to investors. So investors get higher return for their investment in that company. Of course, provided that the company make payment, right, every month, every quarterly.
can the investors withdraw their principal if they may find the company is not profitable in the future? Let's say they find or expect.
Okay, at the moment, investment is hold to maturity. Unless you can come up with a new product or scheme to allow to buy back your investment. At the moment, you have to hold until maturity. Okay. So now you have to really evaluate whether you want to invest or not in that company, because you have to hold to maturity. So if the tenure is too long for you, for example, you will not be investing if the tenure is more than 3 years. And then you don't have to invest. Still up to you. Okay. This is the list of the listing. IAP listing since February 2016. Altogether, we have helped raise more than 200 million worth of funds from 13 deals. Altogether, 13 deals from more than 300 investors to help these companies. Okay. These companies are 13 deals so far. Number one is, so you can see rating, sponsor bank, economic sector, individual return, fund required, financing tenor, RAM rating, this one RAM rating, payment frequency, status, individual investor, how many, corporate investor, how many, and listing date. Okay. So you can see the return, for example, 6.5%, 7.5%, 7%. But now it has gone down to 6.15 because overnight policy rate has gone down by 25 basis points. 25 basis points by last June 22nd. Also, in terms of the amount, ada yang 10 million, 6 million. As the biggest so far is 60 million. This is from Bank Islamic. But the minimum amount of investment is 100,000 for this case. The rest are all between 5,000 to 10,000. Just to show some example and just to answer your question as well. There are some companies that have raised financing on IP more than once. For example, Bangi. This is a corporation, BINB Holdings. They raised financing in 2016 for 6 million. And second time, we raised again in 2018 for 6 million. You can see the name of another company, ICT Zone. 2016, one time, 3.9 million. Another one is 2019 of 2.75 with a return of 6.56 or 6.56. So this is the name of the sponsoring bank, Bank Muamalah, the Islamic the name of sponsoring bank. And then, okay, payment frequency, most of them are monthly, on monthly basis. So you get back your principal and also profit on a monthly basis. So if you want to invest 10,000 for example, you get little bit lah, 500 ringgit this month, next month another 500 ringgit, plus 6% or whatever interval that you get. This is our most popular listing, which is under a project called Run. We started in 2017 for an amount of 30 million for 6 months. This one Run 2, 3, 4 and 5 for 20 million. This one when we open campaign period, let's say last night we opened this morning, within half an hour, within one hour, it was fully booked. Not only fully booked, but overbooked by 1.5 times. That means 20 million, you get a booking of 30 million. Because so many people are interested. Because the tenure is very short, 6 months or even a year. Either individual or company. If you have a company, for example, your company can also invest.
Individual also can.
Yeah, individual, company.
So how did we want to know which one is more gain profit? Consultant guide or what? So
Okay, what we provide to the investors is, okay, whenever there is a listing, of course, as I said, it will be listed on the platform. So you have to visit our website to know what are the projects or investment available. Okay, before that, if you are our user, which you would like to encourage you to do so, by becoming our user, just register yourself as our user. No payment. No. Free registration as a user. So once you are a registered user, you will get email from us whenever there is a new listing. So when you get the email, then you know that there will be a listing next month, for example. So you, of course, you get the preparation for funds and whatnot. So when the company is listed, then you can view the information, the rating, the cash flow, the financing term, investment term. Yes, that's part of the requirement criteria that yes, okay, according to investment account guideline, it's only 1,000. But then it is up to the bank. Sometimes banks put a higher limit, 5,000 or 10,000. Because why? 20 million times investment, too many people put 1,000. So they have to deal with too many investors. So they have some bank put 5,000, 10,000. For Maybank, for example, they target only high net worth. 10,000, 100,000. Yes.
And what are the maximum suits like?
Maximum investment amount. You can even book, if you are the first person to make the booking, the whole amount. But when it comes to payment, then you have to make payment. There is no maximum amount.
So based on the listing that you show, will I know the details of the project, the investment project of all this?
Yeah, you can view. You can view the information, but you have to become a user first. And you can get to view.
So I will know, let's say, the company invest in what product.
Yes, you will know where the company is, location of the company. You can even make some visit to them. You can look at their financial cash flow and whatnot. Classic? Advertisement. Investment. Okay. We have a slide on that. We have a slide on that. We will go back. We have a slide on that. We'll talk about that later. Okay? If you have a Malaysian bank account, you can. You just need a Malaysian bank account, that's all. Fully settled meaning the company have made full payment. The investor have got their full money back. Okay. It's like, okay, we are like Bursa Malaysia, where the listing is done online. Investors can subscribe to the investment companies offered by the bank. Listed on our website.
As for the economic sector, we have like a specified parameter or most of the ventures are on financial services.
Okay, when we talk about banks, we have the relevant financial institution, right? We have the Bangi, SME Bank, we have commercial banks, Maybank, RHP, CIB, and whatnot. So these banks will have their own preferred sector. Some of them would prefer certain industries, certain sectors like plantation, for example, manufacturing, trading. So it depends on the sponsoring bank. If they think that they get, they want to give financing to certain sectors, then they can list those companies where they give financing to in the platform. So it depends on the bank. And of course, when they list, again, the investors will have a choice whether they want to invest or not. So it's, to answer the question, the decision is up to the bank on which sector they want to give financing to, and from that, which one they want to list on the platform. Yes.
Few years
it's not the same.
How is it different from SJP?
Okay, sorry, you talk about SME bank, right?
SME.
Oh, Semicorp. Okay. I suppose that one is for an avenue for companies, small, medium enterprises especially, to seek financing from the banks through a portal that was developed by SME Bank. So it's like online application where SME Bank will try to match the financing requirement with the banks that they work with. Okay, this is different, slightly different. Companies can apply online and they get funded by our shareholder banks. It's quite similar, but the difference is that when they get funded, they will be listed on the platform. The one under SME Bank, you get bilateral financing. That means the crowd does not know that that company gets financing from this bank. This one, the crowd, the public will know that this company gets financing from this bank. For what purpose? That's a difference. And of course,
It's doing the same thing as SJP.
SJPP is a government agency that guarantees financing given by bank to a company. This is a platform that the bank use to list their project so that investors can get better return. Different. SJPP is similar to CBC. Okay, this is the latest listing that we had. It was listed on 17 September. 12 a.m. 17 September. So by 10 a.m. I think the next morning or 11 it was fully subscribed. Some people even wait until the show of midnight to read the booking. The previous one, the payment period started at 9:04. By 9:30, 9:29 exactly, 100% was fully subscribed. So this is the investment that everybody was waiting for, has been waiting for. 95. So inshallah, next year in April, there will be another round of RMC. The same period. But this time around, Bank Muamalat, the sponsor bank, allocate 10 million to their private banking client. If you are one, then you can get a portion of that 10 million. Retail 5 million, individuals, and companies 5 million only. 6.15%. Quite a lot, right? For 6 month investment. How much do you get for your savings account? FD berapa? 30%. Double the amount. But of course, you have to take higher risk. But knowing that this is sponsored by the bank has done credit evaluation. Probably all the terms and conditions are very strict for the financing. Likelihood of the project getting to default is very, very low. As we all know, or as you all know, the non-performing ratio, NPL ratio by the bank ratio is very low, below 1.5%. So every 200 companies, only 3 will fail. Even if they were to fail, the bank will recover through legal action. So this is a good, good alternative investment, new investment product for the Malaysian public. Not even Malaysian public, or even for those who reside in Malaysia. As long as you have Malaysian bank account, you can invest and you can profit. You know, some countries like Japan, they have a negative interest rate. So you keep money with the bank, 100 ringgit for example, you get back probably 97 ringgit. European Central Bank, some of the countries are cutting rates as you know, as we talk now, as we speak now, by 25 basis points. I was reading the 30 tadi kan, Philippine Central Bank may cut rate by another 25 basis points. So kat Malaysia you still get 6.15. In country like Japan, zero, bukan zero, negative. So we are targeting a lot of foreign funds, foreigners to bring their money and get high return of 6%. You ada kawan-kawan kat Jepun ke?
If we want to put investment, So we need to put the money once we register, or there is a certain time we need to put the money in.
Okay, you make a booking first,
Okay.
then the bank will call you. In this case, Bank Muamalat, Puan, you have made a booking, can you transfer the payment, the amount that you book into your account with Muamalat? So you will have your account with Bank Muamalat.
So if we fail to pay,
Then,
so any
the
penalty?
person-
Oh, no penalty.
No penalty.
No penalty.
Then another person will get the chance to transfer because you don't honor your booking.
So is it same with the CDS? The
Different. CDS is for equity market.
And then how about the 6.5% is for profit sharing? Is it? Okay. So how, if the loss, is it the amount 6.5 is a 0 or what, or is it how to determine the losses if there?
Okay. Assuming the financing that the bank give, where they get money from new investors, they have to pay every quarterly. Every quarterly, principal plus profit. Profit, let's say 6.15. So some companies may be able to pay that amount every quarterly until the end of the tenure. There will be times when the company will pay either the full amount or the profit. So if they don't pay the profit to you, to the bank, you will not get the profit. Or if they pay a portion of profit, you will get a portion of profit. So the payment by the company to the bank will resemble the payment that the bank gives to the investors.
So that means is it the bank will determine the interest, for example, like if there is losses or there is the sharing is not until 6.15, so maybe 3%. Is it the bank determine or is it compulsory?
What determines the actual profit payable to you is the performance of the asset of the company that pays the bank. Of course, they are contracted to pay the bank plus 7%. The bank has taken 0.85, 6.15 is given to investors. So contractually, they have to pay 7% to the bank. Bank takes 7.5, 6.15 is given to investors. In the event of less payment received by the bank, you will get less payment too. But of course, bank have their own policy. If they don't get paid for 1 or 2 months, it falls under watch list, for example. So they will start to recover through the legal process, recover the balance of payment that they're supposed to get. If any property being charged to the bank for the financing, the bank will auction on the property on behalf of investors, so that you get back your principal and your profit. But if you are lucky, you get back 6.15. If not, you will suffer some losses, either from profit or principal. Okay, there is no consultant to speak about, but of course you can call the bank too. You can speak to the officer in charge. They will in our platform we have contact details of all the banks. They say this project is sponsored by Bank Muamalat. You can call Bank Muamalat and speak to the officer in charge. You can ask them questions. Okay, why is this over 3 months and what happened if the customer will pay or not? You can ask the bank. That's number one. Number two, you can even call the client if you want to. There is no stopping you from calling the client directly. Or you can get advice from somebody that you look up to in terms of the knowledge of investment. So you can ask people, or you can ask the banks, you can ask the bankers, or you can ask us. If we can help you, we will help you. If not, then you can get a third party to help you with your decision. Yes.
Project or scope that they request.
Okay, let me move to the next slide. You want to know about this contract, Mundarabah contract?
More about reference, so just
Okay.
explain more about
I think that is want to show you something. Okay. Perak Transit is the first listing that we have on the platform. This is a company that is based in Meru Depot. So they own a fleet of buses and also they operate the Meru terminal. Okay, so they raise 10 million. They get financing from Bank Muamalat, and then of course Bank Muamalat list the project on the platform and get investors to fund. The return that they give to investors at the time, 2016, was 6.5%. The purpose of financing was for working capital, for them to operate the fleet of buses that they have and to manage the terminal, the bus terminal. And in the same year, probably in October or something, they were listed on ACE Market and Bursa Malaysia. We have main market, ACE Market, and lead market. So this company was listed. Okay, this is the managing director of the company. And then you can see there was a signing ceremony when the listing was done by Bank Muamalat. You get the CEO of Bank Muamalat, the chairman of Bank Muamalat, Tan Sri Munir, and chairman of IAP, which is also chairman of Bank Islam, Datuk Zamani, former deputy governor of Bank Negara, and deputy finance minister, coming for a signing ceremony of financing of 10 million, which is not normal for banks to hold a signing ceremony for them. Normally for 100 million, 100 million for syndication. So for companies that is licensed by IAP, one of the selling points is they get profiling on the bank, either by the signing ceremony or exposure in the newspapers. So for this company, they get to feature in Berita Harian and also NSP. And of course some Chinese dailies and some other local dailies and online news portal. So yeah, this is the story about Perak Transit as you asked us now. And the financing has been fully repaid by the proceeds of the listing in this market. Yes.
So when Perak Transit has been financed by Bank Muamalat for 10 million,
yeah.
For investor, what is the cap to invest in that?
Cap is 10 million, of course. Yes. So, coming back to this. Okay, for Bank Muamalat, you can see here, Perak Transit, there are 20 individual investors and 1 corporate investor. So 21 investors altogether have invested in Perak Transit 16. Sorry, Dr. Kita, sampai berapa? We have another 50 slides. Okay, not 50 slides. Okay, on the first of all, register SIP user. That's the most important thing. Otherwise, you will not know whether there is a listing or not. Okay, I'll go very quickly because, of course, my boss Johan also wants to speak with you guys. I want to cover some slides. This is our video. How do you grow as an investor? that's our corporate video, which talks about how IAP works and how can you, as an investor, invest on IAP. Okay, I'll give Joanne the chance to speak now. Okay, thank you very much for the question.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor, for a very comprehensive explanation of investment account. This was basically why the investment account and investment account platform was made 3 years ago. As we grew, or even as we had more chat and chews, our slides become bigger and bigger because we create more things. So the first thing that we wanted to do after the basics were laid was to basically identify the value propositions that we are giving to the various stakeholders in the platform. Because as Ms. Amir explained, in the platform we bring together the crowd, we bring together the banks, and we bring together even the regulators because they were part of this whole idea, which is Pangtigara. And of course we bring together the fundraisers or the projects that needs financing. So the value proposition to SMEs is basically they just have to go to one place. So they apply, it's all online, they don't have to go bank to bank, right? So they apply and that's received by all of the sponsoring banks. Now that brings us to a very important point where we distinguish the shareholders and the sponsoring banks. Remove the shareholders idea, you have 6 shareholder banks that put in money to create this platform. But what we're trying to create is beyond these 6 people and basically invite all of the Islamic banks that offer investment accounts, even non-Islamic banks, to participate in the ecosystem. Meaning basically everyone who wants to offer Islamic financing to people to be part of the ecosystem. It's no longer just limited to the shareholder banks. All of the banks are welcome. In fact, we are now talking to several banks that are considering being part of the whole ecosystem in excess of the 6 that you saw earlier on. On top of that, we are talking to other stakeholders such as PNB Tujari, which is the arm of MARA, to even partake in this. So we are becoming creative to be able to utilize this mechanism, which is basically a digital space, to bring more people into the ecosystem. And that's the value proposition we bring to SMEs. As Muzamir explained, there's media profiling. In this instance, there's no dilution of ownership. There is a certainty of funding because it is underwritten by the bank. Meaning, if you all, let's say, participated and it's short of, let's say, 10 million, the bank will top up. It's first offered to the crowd and to the corporate investors. So in excess of that, the bank will add on whatever else is missing. So your ventures will not have a short funding or it will close. Most typical crowdfunding companies nowadays will only go obviously as far as the crowd will put the money in because there's no banks to bank them up. So this is one of the things that is an advantage to the SMEs that apply in IAP. Of course, we do provide rating on top of the due diligence that is done by the bank. It is also rated by RAM, almost like a sukuk. And in that, you know, it's very expensive to get rating. RAM provided a very generous concession so that our SMEs will be able to get rating as a testimony of their capacity to pay and participate in the ecosystem. Zamir showed that earlier on. These are examples of our features for various projects. So what's the value proposition to the investors? IAP sits around here, which is higher than the money market, right around real estate returns. In fact, with products, we'll probably, with our new innovative products, we'll probably hopefully inch towards here, more or less, higher on this side. We obviously provide a good alternative to Malaysians and non-Malaysians who are residing in Malaysia with a bank account into their investment portfolio, because you can choose whatever suits you. If you have, let's say you're planning for a marriage, these are all married age people, and you're trying to save up, you know, you're going to use that money in 12 months, you can invest in something that has 12 months and still gain returns on that. If you want an investment that gives back the money on a monthly basis because you use it for your school, then you you basically are empowered to choose whichever suits you based on the offerings of the listings. I will be frank, we are still in that place where we need more listings because right now there's nothing listed on the platform. We had just closed around last week or 2 weeks ago. My vision is to have 3 at a time there, where there's always a choice. But we're working towards that. It's later on you will see why that's quite difficult to do. But eventually that's my vision, is to have that alternative choice for everyone, short-term, mid-term, long-term investment on the platform all the time. Now there's none. So for those of you who are here, please do sign on. Later on, we will show why. Okay, so let me share because we're on the investment page. You will take a test, a suitability assessment test to gauge what risk appetite you should be in. So let's say they will ask your income and all of these things, and it will suggest to you where to put your money and how far. If you go higher than your risk appetite that was suggested, you have to sign a waiver in the bank saying that I understand that you already told me that I can only do this, but I'm very bullish, so I'm waiving my rights to possibly losing. However, from all of the 13 projects that we listed, none has been non-performing. All have been performing, either paid or still in progress. Okay, so inshallah, we're going to keep that good history. Okay, so that is the value proposition to investors. Okay, so this is the rating grade, very similar to a sukuk. It's in small caps, but the sukuk ones are in big caps, and it's the same people that does the rating for our sukuks in Malaysia. I won't go into the details of these things. If you want them, we can share the slides, but more or less this is a third party assessing the venture aside from the due diligence done by the bank. Okay, so what is the value proposition to the sponsoring banks? This is what I was explaining earlier, that we do not want to limit ourselves to the original 6 shareholder banks, one of which is not really offering investment account because they're not of that business. But to open it to everyone who can partake in the ecosystem. What is the value to them? Because this is not something where they are taking the risk, it's a risk management mechanism for them. Cost-wise, they are obviously not paying PIDM, so then it's smaller. The cost is smaller. They can also raise funds, so it's a new source of fund for them apart from the typical savings account. As I've said, it's a risk management tool. And with this, the bank is opening other income revenues, such as the fee base. So they don't only make money from the profit, but they can charge the fee base because they're the expert in processing, they're the expert in administration, they're the expert in recovery, so they can be paid based on what they're good at, not necessarily for the funds that they give. So the bank then acts as a administrator of the funds as opposed to the source of fund, because the source of fund is hopefully the crowd. Okay, so this is what we are looking at as a whole value proposition to the whole ecosystem. The suitability assessment basically provides a stable choice of investment. And this basically then removes you from the riskier investment and gives you an alternative where you can more or less make an informed decision on where to put the money. So that is a benefit that we are giving the whole ecosystem based on that. Most importantly, I think we are supporting the SMEs, and I will tell you why. It's a compelling proposition because I will show you the figures if you don't already know later on. Of course, because of it being digital and because of the collaboration of the banks, automatically we are increasing the efficiency of the mobilization of funds. But above all, I think, and this is what I always stress, we provide a spirit of collaboration, which is what is necessary in this day and age. In the digital economy, where everything changes so fast, you view people in collaboration as opposed to competition, because you need help to collaborate and survive in the digital space. If you are in silo, it's very difficult because everyone else is helping each other. So in this instance, we provide a platform for the banks or whoever wants to join to be part of that ecosystem and collaborate in providing whatever we want to do, which in this instance provide efficient mobilization of funds from investor to ventures. Okay? Okay, so in the landscape, for the ones who has Islamic finance background? Just one, two. Okay, so for Islamic finance, Malaysia is popular, has been the forefront of Islamic finance, pushing Islamic finance contracts. So with this, we feel that we've been able to be sort of a vehicle to piecemeal, to put various pieces of the pie together. We are using banking expertise. We are providing financial technologies that's quite advanced, and we continue to develop. And we also provide that crowdfunding portion, which is now happening all over the world. And as you've seen there, in 2018, $7 billion of USD was generated through crowdfunding, both in the charity and in the investment space. So Malaysia has taken that on by issuing peer-to-peer and equity licenses on the SC side. And this is more or less what they've accomplished. Plus our 200 million is still far away from the whole compared to the rest of the world. So this is where all of your financial initiatives are moving towards, which is basically crowdfunding and financial technologies. So with that, we feel that we are providing a very complete picture of a model that can come up with newer and creative business propositions where basically your government and your public sector, your private sector can come together to push forth initiatives. Later on, we'll show you a model that we came up with to be able to make that happen in the next slides, okay? So this is basically a testimony for Malaysia to be in the center of Islamic finance still, and will continue to be. Several other countries are looking into this model to copy it in their own countries. So inshallah, that's going to happen soon. And of course, that's a testimony to Malaysia's leadership. This is what I was telling you. In Malaysia, about 99% of businesses are small and medium scale. About 66% of Malaysian workforce is coming out of this, and about almost 40% of the GDP is coming out of SMEs. And only 27% receives facility from the banks for many, many reasons. And this is the gap that we are trying to fill, and we're trying to decode, and we're trying to address. As you know, 66% of the workforce is a big chunk of your economy. And if the small and medium scale enterprises is not able to access this, then this is in jeopardy, then a big chunk of your purchasing power is also compromised. So this is sort of the compelling proposition that we wanted to bring forward, why this model can be used and should be used to be able to address this sort of funding gap.
You did mention that several other countries that are looking forward to implement this kind of platform. So, are we the first one to implement this kind of?
Yes, where 6 banks have created this, yes. There are a lot of crowdfunding companies that do not involve. We are the first. And the only for now. At least in Malaysia, I think we remain to be the only. But other countries, hopefully we can share this model, because the same problem lies here. These are, of course, as you are small and medium, it's quite the risky sector, right? But they're also the muscle of your economy. So there has to be some kind of compromise on it.
Around 98% SME for the business, how many consist of Sharia compliance? Is it total is 98.5? Is it because 27 of SME receive financing facility from banks? Is it?
This is mixed. This is not distinguished from Sharia or non-Sharia compliance. This is from the whole scale. We did not delineate from the two. Bear in mind that for those that are have no background in Islamic finance, don't be intimidated with this. It is also for non-Muslims. And our tenets and our policies that we follow, so long as you are not doing haram business, you can be the beneficiary. Just like you can eat kosher or halal meat. There's no prohibition that you can. So these products and this investment is available for everyone, Muslim and non-Muslim alike. So this distinguishing factor of the need does not discriminate who and who is not. Because we do not discriminate also if you're Muslim or not. As long as your business is
not the investor, I mean the product. For example, like the product for services, manufacturing, is it didn't differentiate between Islamic and...
No, this is Malaysian economy.
But the product is all Sharia compliant, the products.
Our products is all Sharia compliant, yes.
So looking at this, do you pilot any PPP projects?
Sorry?
Looking at this, do you pilot any IAP or PPP projects?
PPP?
Project
Oh, okay. So this is just a demographics of the whole economy. We do not distinguish. Later on, we will share with you how we envision where public partnership can happen. Okay?
I am interested in the only 27% of SME get financing from the bank.
Yes.
We have always heard that industry, the SME complains about having difficulties with these financing.
Yes.
Financial institutions.
Yes. Good question, because that's why we presented this. Because we wanted to more or less bring that to MOF. We more or less wanted to show that to our banks. So later on, we came up with models that hopefully will sort of mitigate this problem. Bear in mind that, let's go on. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So any other questions on this slide? The outstanding questions I will answer later on in the future slide. If I don't, please remind me. Okay? Okay, so this triangle that Buzumir introduced to you, this is the third iteration. The first one was before IAP, the second one was after IAP, and this is a model where we've then identified that it can be used. There's around 3 or 4 of these, and the last one is where public and private partnership we are hoping to roll. The budget came out. We don't know yet. Okay, so all right, so then IAP structural bilateral syndication. So basically this is IAP Bank would help raise funds for the venture with full or partial underwriting or without underwriting commitment. So it is correct, the lady who asked my question there in glasses, that the problem is that the due diligence of the bank is quite rigid and strict. And that's the same reason why that 27% is there. And for a reason. The 27% there, you have to bear in mind, based on what Muzamir told you, 3 trillion, right? 3 trillion. 2 trillion total deposits. This is the same money that the bank uses to finance. It's not theirs. It's people's money. So they have to be very, 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 very careful because it's not theirs. That is why an alternative of Islamic, this investment account came along. Because there are some people who want to take more risk, whether for their own benefit or whether they want to be able to help the economy or they believe in a specific ventures. Just by the mere offering of investment account, I think that more or less lessens the gap. So there are some people that will probably pass through if the investment account was used. But that does not solve all the problem because the bank is also watching because they will still underwrite, right? They will still underwrite. So if we are able to say bank A or bank B, we only want you to underwrite half. The other half will be done by the crowd. And the crowd is willing to take the risk. Then they'll say, okay, then I'll let them go. I'll let them go. Let them go because the crowd is willing to take the risk. So we'll say bank just do 50, half of it. Or bank, check this out. We already know that based on the pulse that we have in the crowd and based on the corporates that we have, this can be subscribed by them completely. So then, don't be too strict. let it slide. If we're able to convince the bank to do this, then you have more people passing through and that 27% will improve. So that's the first solution. That still doesn't solve everything, okay? So then we come up with the next product. Zoom in. Okay. IAP structure 2. This is the third party asset. This is now where your other developmental banks can come in and list their assets onto the IAP to be able to tap the investment account money, which was quoted to be about 80 million. This is the 180 billion. That exists. There's still a lot of potential. All of your money can potentially still enter into the investment account. And that with this model, we allow other institutions that are not offering the investment account to participate because they can list their asset via the sponsoring banks that are already there. So this is where I say the ecosystem can expand, not only limited to the ones that are already there. So this is the model that can make that happen. We have one that we are considering now, inshallah. Inshallah, we will be able to do so. Okay? This is a hybrid where there's a combination of an investment product and IAP product. So it's a bit complicated in terms of like, not a bit complicated, but let's say 70% would be an IAP product, an IA product, and the other half is a unit trust, and then it can be raised to our bank. This is just for yield enhancement. You are able to then offer higher returns because you have the unit trust bit there. So some banks are keen on using this. So that's also being explored. This is where P2P comes in. Public-private partnership. That's where government or any GLC or anyone for that matter who wants to push for an initiative. You don't have to be government. Any person who wants to put forth an initiative can do this. What happens is this let's say government institution or public institution or ministry or whoever this may be wants to utilize this vehicle of crowdfunding that we've already explained through our platform where the banks do what they are good at, and these are the contracts. So there's many ways that they can participate. One is this. They will put in a pool of funds where they will join the crowd to invest in a particular venture, meaning they can opt to be the last to be paid. So all of the risks on the tail. So instead of your government institution giving grants, you give the money and it's gone. They become an investor. What happened? Okay. They become an investor and invest in a venture. And if our track record is correct, where their money will be retrieved back, the fund increases, principal plus profit. So they will get back their money. But this allows us to tell the crowd here and tell the banks that, look, this big person or this big ministry is part of this whole fundraising process. Rest assured that everything is less riskier by their presence because they are swallowing the riskier side. You can be creative in the product where they can say, we are the last to be paid, or we will take less profit. I mean, it depends. Your potentialities of a product is unlimited based on your creativity only. The bottom line is that this one is entering as a participant into this ecosystem and not just doling out grants or handouts. So they become there. That money can also be used as a risk mitigation by creating an insurance fund or however that may be. But it's not free money. It is money that works in the ecosystem to push this forward. Our objective is basically to increase this. Right now, this is a pool, as Musamir explained earlier, it's a pool of individuals, corporates, and GLCs also. Our states have excess money instead of it sitting in a deposit account or a deposit account. It can sit in IAP and they can match it up based on their needs. If that money is not to be utilized for 1 year, it's a backup money, then let it work for the ecosystem. Let it work for the ventures. Let it work for the SMEs. So that's what we're trying to do. With that, we have presented the 2 or 3 wish lists to MOF, which we are hoping can be heard. One of it is a tax concession. One of it is some sort of an administrative easing in terms of corporates being able to invest. One of it is possibly a fund. And this is the same proposition that we can present to any government body or any public body that wants to push forth an initiative. Bottom line is, let's capitalize on what the banks is good at, the administration of the money, the collection of the money. They're experts in this field. And let's allow the people to partake in the ecosystem and invest their money in places where it's safe. And they are then putting their money to push the economy, whether in Malaysia or whether the model is to be brought externally. Right now, we're only open to people who have Malaysian bank account. Eventually, we see potentiality that we can then also open up for foreign investment because of the benefits that they can derive from Malaysia. That's still in the works. I mean, all of these things are exploratory talks with a basic objective of, let's push forth the financing to be able to have a dynamic economy where people can work and do what they need to do with the help of each other. So that's the general essence of this vehicle that we've created in the technology space. So that's your digital space, basically. Any questions?
The IAP protect by IAP.
Sorry?
The IAP investment account protect by IAP.
No. From the gate, we explained that this is not a deposit, and one of the reasons why the bank can give more returns is because it doesn't cost them the idea. However, again, we are also looking at creative ways to utilize vehicles like them to either sit in this end or this end to push people to get approved in financing or to encourage the crowd to participate. We are bringing everyone to the table, even them if need be, so long as we are able to mobilize here as fast and as much as we can.
Under financial aid, government, any statutory body or any government entity, in order to invest, there must be fixed deposit free of risk. So how IAP want to cater this kind of policy?
The investments.
The investment, because any statutory body, they can invest, but first fixed deposit only, because they are free risk.
Risk-free. Well, for how do we explain that, Mr. Mayor? For our friends in the various states that we have access, it's in their investment pot.
Okay, most of the government sectors, government bodies or agencies, they can only invest in deposit. They cannot take risks, higher than deposit risk, unless they are government bodies or like EPF and whatnot that have their own investment committee. Then they are able to invest in IT. But government agency, government department, so far they cannot invest in other deposit because the risk is much higher. You have to get approval from MOF. But there are government, some state religious bodies like Majlis Kami Islam Selangor, for example, they are not bound by the rule. They can invest on IAP and UAE.
So these are the same people that we want to bring on board, because I think their objective is the same as ours, is to basically mobilize the funds for good use. And in the Islamic finance space, that's basically, especially if they're following that, that's basically what we're looking to have, that the money is utilized for the viability of the economy as opposed to it sitting somewhere where it's risk-free.
Because as we know, if the crowd involved in the crowd, the public money, there's a certain what you call protection from the government. For example, like Abu Haji. There's what government who guaranteed the Abu Haji, protect the Abu Haji. Whether the investment must have protection. For example, if we deposit 5,000, the 5,000 must guarantee.
Yes.
So because IAP is not protected by PIDM or any agency, So when the central body or when government want to ensure that the crowd funding, the money for the crowd is being secured, protected, there is any AIP maybe in the future zero risk or.
I don't want to go into the zero risk discussion because for those it's Islamic finance is going to be a very long discussion. But Dabu Haji has an investment arm and an investment committee that actually we have already spoken to. And if the banks approve, they will be okay with it, inshallah. So, yeah. Yes.
So, talking about race and financial benefits, could you give us some estimation regarding to risk-reward ratio?
Risk-reward ratio. In terms of 2:1? How do you want to? So your profit rate, right, is commensurate to the risk that you take. So the higher the risk, the higher profit rate, the higher the return. That's assessed by the bank in their due diligence, and that's why we have varying rates of return. I don't understand this. Does that answer your question?
The risk-based comparison between the risk-based to the potential benefits for young investors maybe.
Okay, so the millennials. Okay, so on the risk-reward mechanism, your risk reward is basically the profit rate. I believe is the indication of the risk that you are taking. The ratio is inversely related in that directly related in that the higher risk that you take, the higher return is. And that's indicative in the profit rate. For the millennials, this is one of the reasons why I think we are entering the digital space, because the millennials, whether Islamic or non-Islamic, is looking to find a place where they can put their finances or their monies where there is impact. There is a positive impact. You guys' age are better than ours, more aware. I hope that's because of the technology that's happening, because technology can spread good and bad. But it is known that the millennials now are savvier investors, and that not only look at the returns in a percentage form, they want to be able to see the impact that their investment is making. And that's why I think crowdfunding is coming up, and that's why we have various rates in ESGs we are hoping to also have. Because not only the millennials, but also the corporates are now looking at the impact of the environment, to the society, and the like. So we are then putting that in. So for the savvy investors, this is up your alley. For the millennials, this is up your alley, where you can actually choose where you want to put your money on. In terms of social impact, if you want to do with manufacturing, if you want to do women empowerment, all of the details are there. As I've said, we are still far away from what's ideal. We want to be able to have more projects, so you have more options. Then you can see who owns it and everything else. So we want to be able to put more information there. We don't have such volume of projects just yet. Eventually, we want to be able to categorize them in terms of impact areas. Eventually, inshallah. Right now, it's too scarce of we only get one at a time. Sometimes there's a gap. You have to have a volume of at least 3 in the platform that's fundraising, so that you can see the various choices that you can have.
In my understanding, you are just a layer of protection and simplification of the system. Because, I don't know, you are just make some value. Simplify system by using internet and platform and bring all together.
Okay.
And if you use some rating system and okay, which means all things being together, building a trust. Me as a simple people who has no information about economy, businessman, and how I can church money. I can church RIM. Why?
How can we trust?
Yeah, RIM.
RAM.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because in 2007, this agency of reputation that was implicated in crisis because of false rating.
Okay, so in your first sentence, there's two contradictory words: layer and layering and connecting. So if you're layering, you're making it more difficult to penetrate. So the proper adjective would be connecting. We are connecting people so that it's easier. We are bringing people together so that the flow is easier. All of the ones that we have are all, in terms of banks, are reputable banks. We put RAM there. I'm not aware of that, but thank you for informing me. But that doesn't taint my belief of them, because there's no other agency that we feel can put this as a connector to be able to enhance the whole process.
Apart from taking, apart from government or Ministry of Finance, have you realized state government?
We are looking to do that. Right now, as I've said, Muzamir as a stakeholder relationship person have reached out as an investor. I think they can also sit here. There's a potentiality of them sitting here, inshallah, because as you know, there are some states that have that capacity. Yeah, if you can reach that, that would be nice. We are trying to reach out to everyone in Malaysia. Our objective is to make this to work, and different states have different capacities.
Because they are buying people in the law,
Yes.
federal government.
Yes. So that's how we want to promote this. This is a vehicle that you can use to make things easier. The states can look at it as such, city governments can look at it as such. There are some relationships I cannot share just yet because it's too early on in terms of exploration. But the general, the underpinning message to all of that is this is a vehicle that was encouraged by the Central Bank of Malaysia with the objective of mobilizing funds, and we can use that vehicle to be able to meet the needs of the various entrepreneurs. That's basically the backbone of the Malaysian economy.
Is it any committee or any agency that government or monitor IAP? Is it only by negara or?
Good question. So since all of this money comes into BNM is seeing all the money flow, right? Because it's passing through the banks. Of course, BNM is monitored by the MOF. MOF is under your federal. So there's several layers. We are in between a bank and a typical startup. We are still a startup in terms of a Berhad, but I think the mandate we have is quite large and quite powerful and quite useful if done in the right way. And the mandate that we have is not just ours. We are simply a vehicle. People like the gentleman there who thought of going to the state agencies, we've thought of a year ago. Also, we've approached some, but not all of them just yet. Maybe someone like you can say, okay, let's do this. This is not for us. This was created to benefit the Malaysian economy.
Who's the owner or shareholder of this IAP?
We share that in the third slide. It's 6 banks. It is the 6 banks. They are the shareholders, equal shareholding. They are my boss. They're not easy bosses, but yes, they are.
So the operational expenditure for this IAP comes from the fees or the bank.
You and I can have coffee and talk about the model and the business challenges. There's a lot, but yes. They put in the money to create the platform. The model and the business model viability and all of that industry stuff is a whole new conversation for an MBA student, but we can share that at another time. But yes, it's coming from them. I know since there was one that was done in Cambodia, Vietnam, but the Berhad is based here. So the Berhad is based here, but they can do that is because the due diligence is by the bank, and generally they prefer that it be a Berhad. Here. Yeah, we are doing that right now. So as Muslim, okay, last question because I'm getting a sign over there. I think you guys still have class. We have worked with them. We have been appointed. This is a new innovation that we've created because of the same reason of this question of the gentleman here. We wanted to increase our value in terms of what we are offering and in terms of in terms of the business model. So we have been appointed, we have now instituted a sort of a wakala relationship with the ventures because we are seeing that a lot of them is being declined and we don't want to limit the offerings with the banks. So we can now offer it to the various places. So very good question. Oh, okay. Promise Harina last.
Is it only for commercial or private business, or is it also open for social entrepreneurs?
For now, it can be for anyone as long as you pass the due diligence of the bank, or for then when we adopt these models, as long as you pass the criteria of these new models. Okay.
Sorry, I just need some clarification.
Sure.
Get back the funds to where it's going to
Yes, that's that's how we envision it, so that it doesn't deplete itself.
And my second question is on the tax incentive, because the government has provided tax incentive for this. Was it not sufficient for IAP?
Oh no, there's no tax incentive yet. There's no tax incentive yet. It is a proposal that we have given, so that then high net worth individuals can come in, knowing that they can be very flexible with their investment. This is a wish list that we are hoping to have. Okay? Okay.
Just the last one.
Okay.
I have not seen this kind of platform in UCAS, Unit among Swasta.
Sorry, I'm not familiar.
I have not seen this platform in public-private partnership unit.
Okay.
In MOS. So perhaps you can
Oh, I
research
see.
here.
Inshallah. Thank you so much.
I mean, it's a good move, lah.
Yes, definitely. So this is the same reason, and we'll end with that because it's a very positive note. This is the same reason why we go around. We closed the office today. We're all here, by the way. So, and then we're gonna go to Juma because of this type of ideas. Inshallah. Thank you so much. Jazakumullah khair.
Thank you so much, Yang Bahagia Dr. Joanne. I think the talk is very informative, relevant, and very impactful. Alright, towards the end, GSB is organizing, this is one of the talk series that we organize. We have organized previous talk series on various topics, including automation in industry, in manufacturing, also blockchain system and so forth. So this is one of the topics that is very relevant to us. This is all non-curriculum topics that we really treasure. And for that, thank you so much. I would like to invite our Deputy Dean Associate Professor Dr. Rashida to give a token of appreciation to CEO Dr. Joanne of IAP Chat. Of MA program to give a token of appreciation to Encik. IAP integrated team, Ms. Atika and the rest of the team member. We have one alumni here. Yeah, this is our MA alumni. Before we end our session, I'd like to invite everybody to stand here and we can have a group photo together.